I like to call myself a surprisingly aquatic terrestrial ecosystem kind of gal. Sometimes it feels like my love for the earth just isn't meant to be, a love destined to fail. It feels like the earth and I are star-crossed lovers. Many of my Stanford classmates would tell the same story, that when they were kids, their parents would take them snorkeling and hiking all the time, and that they always knew that they loved the environment. So it makes total sense that they graduated with a degree in earth systems. Maybe it would be easier if this were my story, but it's not. I always pin myself as a late bloomer in my love for the natural world. But the more I look back into my childhood, the more I see the moments where the universe was screaming at me to pay attention, like it knew how great this love could be if I just gave it a shot. I think that everyone has a moment, whether big or small, that sparks their interest, that pulls them into the world of science and ecology. For me, that moment was the 2 weeks I spent in Jackson Hole, Wyoming on an Earthwatching night expedition to study songbirds. As a 15-year-old Mexican girl growing up in LA, Wyoming was definitely not on my radar, and I couldn't have imagined that it would capture a piece of my heart forever. I'll be the first to say that the Grand Tetons know how to make a great first impression. Even from thousands of feet up in the sky, I was closer to mountains than I had ever been before. And as I took my first breath of non-polluted mountain air, I knew I was in over my head. I had a lot of firsts in those 2 weeks. It was the first time I went hiking, held a snake, saw the Milky Way. It was the first time someone told me to pay attention to birds. In every single one of those moments, I could feel the universe, well, at least my universe, expanding right in front of me. I knew that I would spend the rest of my life chasing that feeling. But there's a lot of space in between being pulled into the world of ecology and learning how to sustain that love. When I got to Stanford, I was pretty lost, as all 17-year-olds are. I clung to the idea that science would be the focal point of my Stanford career. But the more I tried to lean in, the more it felt like science pushed me away. I thought science was familiar, that it was something central to my identity. But class after class, I felt like a failure. It felt like I was trying to convince myself and everyone else around me that I loved science. I was on the brink of a breakdown every time I existed in those spaces, and yet I still wanted to be part of the world of ecology. Every time someone told me that maybe science just wasn't for me, I could feel 15-year-old Judith's universe shrinking. I wondered how many voices it would take telling me no before I got the message. And as I learned more about the injustices that shape and color the environmental field, and even what we think of as the environment, I felt pain on top of the doubt. How can I exist in this world when it was built to exclude me? Why does it feel like no one else is struggling with this tension? In Wyoming, it felt like someone took a chance on me, and it changed my life. But now it felt like everyone was saying I wasn't worth the risk. Then, I had my first field class of undergrad. When we snorkeled the waters of the Monterey Bay, and I put my face in the water for the first time, I could feel my universe expanding again. With my head below the surface, I felt fully present, and I noticed the world around me. I felt my love for ecology surge back into my body. Every time I get to go out into the field, everything changes. It doesn't matter where I am. Whether it's learning how to identify hummingbirds for sunrise observations on campus, counting Joshua trees in the Mojave Desert, observing fish behavior in the reefs of French Polynesia, or exploring the cloud forests of Oaxaca. I feel what I first felt in Wyoming, excited to be learning, in awe of the world around me, and like I have a role to play in this big, messy life. When I get to learn in the field, that's when I feel the smartest, the most confident, and the most comfortable being myself. Learning should always feel this way, but those feelings are very hard to hold on to. It's these moments that suck me back into my love for science. Even when it feels like I'm surrounded by a sea of no's, the earth tells me yes. When I was in French Polynesia doing research for the first time, my group was struggling to get our plot set up because it's surprisingly hard to make straight lines underwater. As I swam over to our tool bag in desperate search for more zip ties, it felt like I was failing and hearing no all over again. Then I looked up and saw a single spotted eagle ray gently swim right past me. No one saw it but me. In that moment, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be.